Hello and welcome to episode 25 of Daryl Show Your Work. So I know in my previous episodes I've talked a lot about vulnerabilities and how to compromise systems. So this time I decided to go a different direction, and now we're going to talk about implementing security controls in order to harden our attack surface. All right. So the first thing we're going to start off with is SSH hardening. So I've shown us some SSH exploitation. So let's get into how we can then protect the SSH protocol. So I'm going to start with starting a SSH session. All right. So I'm going to log into Ubuntu. I'm going to log in as Ubuntu, user at, and then we are going to log into 192.168 100. All right. All right. I'm gonna tell it yes. All right. Then I'm entering my password here. All right. So we have initiated an SSH session to this machine. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ensure that the system has the latest security updates. All right. So in order to do this, I'm going to do sudo to give us the amount of privilege we need to do this. Apt apt-get and then update. All right, again, I'm just verifying that everything here on the server is up to date and getting any updates that it may need. I need to enter my password again. All right, so we have ensured that we are up to date as far as any lingering updates that are out there. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to open up the configuration file for this the SSH configuration file to be specific for this machine with our text editor and see if there's any settings that we need to adjust. All right, so I'm gonna do sudo and then nano to open up my text editor. We're gonna go to Etsy, SSH, SSH D config. All right, now that I'm in, so there's going to be some areas here where I'm going to have to look for any sort of configurations or settings that we need to change in order to better harden our attack surface here. So I'm going to scroll down a bit, and the first thing I'm going to look for is the permit or root login um, setting. All right, so scrolling down here. All right, there it is. So see now that is saying that it's allowing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this to no. So now this device that we're on will no longer accept root login. So if we do have an attacker or someone that manages to access root privileges or the root account, they won't be able to log in to this particular device. And also, we need to look for the max authentication tries. So what this is going to help do is this. I'm gonna scroll down here and I'm gonna uncomment that. What this is going to help do is first we're going to by being commented out, it's not even being applied. So I'm activating it when I uncomment it out, and then I'm telling it to only allow 3 tries of a- of a of an of an invalid authentication before it no longer allows any further attempts. All right, so right now set to 6 tries. We're going to set it to 3. Excuse me. All right, so that should be it as far as the things that we're going to change here on in terms of authentication and permitted accounts. So I'm going to do Control X, choose yes, and then hit enter. All right, so that takes care of our SSH hardening. Now let's move on to setting up some IP table rules, which we've gone over in the previous video, but we're going to in this video we're specifically going to set them for hardening purposes. So we're gonna set the default policies to drop for input, forward, and accept for output to ensure that anything not explicitly allowed is denied. All right, so to start this off, we're gonna first put in the rule to drop forwarded packet, excuse me. In order to do that, say sudo iptables dash p, capital P, one that needs to be all caps, because your case matters when putting in these rules. Forward drop. All right, so I'm telling it to drop any packages that are forwarded. I'm gonna hit enter. All right, now that I have in my history, I can just modify it as I go. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to the next rule that I'm going to implement is to allow outgoing packets from our from this device. All right, so I'm saying out, put, accept. All right. Okay, so then the next two lines that I'm going to enter here is it's going to be necessary for the server to communicate with itself. So I'm going to be allowing traffic into the loopback interface. So anytime, if we wanted to ping, our loopback address is 127.0.0.1, just to make sure that we're up. This is what allows us to do that. But first, I have to enter in the rules to allow that, since I want to do explicit denied to anything not specified. All right. So first thing I want to tackle is inward traffic. So we're going to say, well, hold on. Let's go back in our history. All right. And I'm going to modify this to say dash A. All right. And then we're going to change this to input and not output. All right. And then we're going to specify the interface, which low is for loopback. All right. Then dash J. Oh, and I want to tell it to accept this. So we're accepting traffic into our loopback interface. All right. All right. And then we have to do the opposite to get the response from our cells, and we have to then allow the outgoing traffic. So I'm just going to change this to output. All right, then I'm going to change this to lowercase o. All right, leave everything else the same. All right. All right, so then the next thing that I'm going to do, and I'm going to allow SSH connections to be managed to the server remotely. All right, so in order for me to do that, go back here and see. I'm going to choose the input one, so that's easier to modify since we're going to be telling it this is going to be based on packets coming in. All right, So input, then I'm gonna say TCP, which is type of protocol, destination. Sorry about that. D port, we just put destination port 22J, and we want to accept this. All right, so I'm telling it to allow incoming traffic into port 22, which is SSH. I need to add a dash here. All right, and that's again, that's going to allow users to connect remotely into the using SSH session to this machine. All right, so the next set of rules that I'm going to put in here is I'm going to allow HTTP and HTTPS traffic into this machine because it's actually hosting a local website. So we need traffic to go to both go to basically come in at least for visitors to be able to come in and interact with that site. So we have to open up port 80 and port 443. So we're going to first start out with allowing traffic into port 80. All right. I'm going to always show us kind of the quicker way of doing this. All right. So the only thing we really need to change here is the destination port. All right. And then same thing here. We're going to change the destination port to 443. All right. And again, that's going to allow all incoming internet traffic into the web site that's being hosted on this machine. So this is more than likely, given we're talking about port 22, 80, and 443. This looks like it's more than likely a web server that we're configuring and hardening here. All right. And then we need to now after we've entered in all of these rules to the IP tables, something that I didn't show in the previous video when we were talking about IP tables is saving the IP table so that it persists after a reboot. So in order to do that, we're going to say sudo IP tables, and then we want to say dash save. Then we want to say pipe, and then we want to enter sudo. All right, then we want to specify our directory where to save this at tables, and then we're going to save this as rules dot v4. Then I'm going to pipe that out to dev. Oops. No. All right, and this is what's going to save these IP tables and have them to continue to be persistent after a reboot. All right. So that covers adding some IP tables to this machine here. Again, in order to do some system hardening. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to work with some software known as fail to ban, and it's an intrusion prevention software framework that protects computer servers from brute force attacks. All right, so we're looking specifically to mitigate um, um, successful attempts of brute force attacks, and that's what this software does. Fail to ban, and we're going to be working specifically with its configuration file in order to set it up to do everything it needs to do. All right, so in order to get started with that, we need to copy the contents of its current configuration into another file so we can customize it. All right, so to start that off, we're going to do sudo cp for copy, and then we want to first tell it to copy from where the location where the configuration file is currently located. So it's going to be located in the fail to ban directory, and within that directory, we want to call this specific uh, file, and then to copy it into a different name. So config, then we want it to go and actually go into from config to local. And local is going to be what we're going to be working with to customize. So we at least have the defaults, excuse me. We at least have the default always there for us to then to make, make another copy of it. We need, we always need the default there to know, if we need to roll back, where to roll back to. All right. So I'm hit enter. All right. It didn't like something that I did. So let's find out, what did I fat finger here? All right. So copy, let's see, to the Etsy, failed to ban server dot. Oh, forgot my dot. Okay. All right. Ah, you gotta love virtual machines sometimes. All right. There we go. All right. So now the file gel dot config should now be the content of that should now be copied over to gel dot local. All right. So then we want to open up gel dot local to modify. So we're gonna do sudo nano to open it up in our text editor, and then now we're gonna go to where it's current resides, which is in the same directory as the default configuration file, which is the fail to ban folder. At this time, we just want to open the copy we just created, which is jail dot local. All right. So there's a few things that we need to do in here. So first, we need to find a particular setting known as ignore IP, and then we want to specifically tell it which IPs to ignore in terms of what we're going to allow to authenticate into our machine. All right. So let's see. Ignore IP. All right, we're getting close. All right. All right, here we are. Okay, here it is right here. So I'm going to uncomment that. All right, and then I'm going to change this. I'm going to add to this actually. All right, and then we're going to get rid of this. And first we're going to add our IP address. Dot 168.1 dot 100, and then we're going to add our CIDR address here. So then then the entire subnet is allowed. So this at least will prevent any sort of remote um, connections from connecting to here and trying to brute force us. Now, if there's a there's a local compromise, then that is what our IP tables are going to help with. All right, so that takes care of that particular portion. But now we need to find that SH D section, and we need to add a few variables or settings that prevent the SSH brute force attacks by banning IP addresses after 3 failed login attempts within 5 minutes. All right. So we want to make sure that not only do we block them from from brute force attacking us, and and not allowing them to be able to continue to try to authenticate after 3 attempts, but then we need to permanently ban them from our network once they have failed, and that's what fail to ban helps us to do. All right, so we're going to scroll down to the portion that says SSHD. And this is where we're going to place these settings. Okay, here we go. All right. All right, so we're going to move the current settings down. We're not looking to modify those. We're just looking to add to them. All right. So here we're going to start adding our settings. So I'm going to write first. I want to enable it. So I'm saying enable equals true. All right, then filter equals SSHD login. Sorry about that. Log path equals var. Okay, so this is where it's going to keep. This is where our authentication um, logs are stored. Usually, if we have like a SIM solution or something, this is the location that it pulls from within a Linux machine. All right, so we want to set the max retry, um, just like we did in the before. We're going to set it to 3. We had our SSH configuration, the actual SSH itself configuration settings. All right, then, all right, see, find time equal that to 300. All right, so that's basically 300 minutes. So that's equal to 5 minutes. Excuse me, yeah, that's equal to to um to 5 minutes. So basically, then that's what helps to detect to a brute force attack, because if there's um at least within that 5 minute window, if are 3 attempts within a 5 minute window, that's when we're looking to ban. So anything outside of that, it's not going to ban you. It's just you're just not going to be allowed to try to authenticate. And then we want to give it a ban time. We're going to specify that it's, let me see, 800,000 minutes. I'm just curious. I want to look that up to see exactly how many minutes is that. Let's see, 28,800 minutes, minutes to hours. So we're going to ban them for 480 hours. All right, I'm gonna just leave it there. I could tell I could go down a rabbit hole trying to trying to see well what does that translate to in general with when it comes to time. So I'm gonna just leave that alone. All right. All right. So scroll back up here. All right, and then we want to tell them which we want to tell it which IP to to ignore these rules for, and we want to specify our um, loopback address in case for whatever reason, our system, the network goes down or our system isn't, the loopback isn't responding. We don't want it to then block the machine, for 200 and I mean for 480 hours because something's not going on, something's not right with our loopback interface or with us being able to ping ourselves. All right. So that's going to be it as far as adding the settings here to the fail to safe configuration. So Control X, then Y. All right. So the last thing we're going to harden here is our TCP IP stack. And this is going to secure the network layer against common attacks like SYN floods, IP spoof, and other vulnerabilities. So SYN flood is a basically is a type of DOS or DDoS attack where someone sends the first portion of the TCP handshake, sends it to our machine, and just continues to send it and send it and send it, overwhelms our machine, doesn't give our machine a chance to respond back with a SYNACT response. And of course that affects that availability, and it overwhelms the machine. And it's an availability issue. Um, so we're gonna open up the system control configurations with our text editor, and we want to make sure that we enable make sure that all necessary uh, settings in that configuration file are enabled in order to make that happen. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open up our system configuration file. Okay, oops. All right, so I'm gonna open that up in our text editor. All right, so I'm gonna say Etsy, and I'm gonna go to where it's located. So it's in our Etsy folder, and I'm gonna say system control dot config. All right. All right, so we're in here. So there's a couple of areas in here that we need to make sure aren't commented out, and if they are commented out, we're going to uncomment them to enable them. All right, so the first one we're looking for is net IP4, and everything we're going to be uncommenting out here is going to be the IP4 settings and not the IP6 settings. All right, so it's going to be net.ip4.config.all.rp filter. All right, and this is going to enable the IP spoofing protection. All right, so it looks like we found it right here. All right. So again, that enables the IP spoofing protection. All right. Next thing we're going to be looking for is the net IP4 TCP SYN cookies, and that's going to be uh, equal to 1, meaning on. All right. So we want to find the SYN cookie. Here we go. All right. So we want to enable that, and what that it does, it enables SYN cookies, which helps fight against those that SYN flood attack that I was just talking about. All right. And then the next thing the next setting we're looking for is a net IP4 config all except redirects. All right. All right. So we're looking for the redirect. All right, here we go. All right, so we want to enable the IP4 version. Okay, and what this is going to do is this is going to ignore ICMP redirect requests. All right, the next one we're going to see if it's disabled or enabled is net .ip4 config all except resource route. So let's check for that one. Excuse me, source route. Okay, so look like this is it. And what this allows, I mean, what this doesn't allow, this actually disables IP source rerouting. All right, the next one, the last one here that we're going to be looking for is the net IP4 config all log Martians. Um, and basically it's going to log a Martian packets. What Martian packets are is it's the it basically is packets whose source or destination is invalid, unroutable, or reserved for special use. So we want to be able to log that information and keep a running log of that. All right, so here it is. We're going to enable that, and that should be all in terms of us hardening um, our TCP stack in this specific situation. So I don't want to make it seem like limiting, any sort of other ways we can harden a TCP stack, but in this particular scenario, um, this covers the basis of what we want to do here in this lab. So I'm hit Control X, Y for yes, and then enter. All right. And so a last few things that we need to do is we need to apply these changes. So we've made these changes, but we want to make sure that they stick. So in order to do that, I'm gonna just do sudo, and I'm gonna say just well, excuse me, we're making sure that they stuck. And once we did a exit and save, then that saved it. So we just want to make sure this is going to just check what's in there and what's actually enabled when we do this. So we're reading the system control file. Um, so hit enter. Oops, hold on. Messed something up with my syntax. Let's see what didn't it like here. Well, let me just try to do. Huh. Oh, let's see. Well, I have to add a parameter to that. All right. So let's add the -p parameter. There we go. So those are all of our enabled settings within that configuration file, the system um, control configuration file. And the last thing we can do here, just to make sure that if we want to just look for just one of the changes, okay, we didn't want like a whole list. Pretend like this list was just like exhaustive of multiple um, enabled configurations, and like hundreds popped up when we read the file. We can do that by doing sys control, which is the file name, and then let's just specify a particular setting. So I want to see if net IPv4 TCP underscore send cookies. If I want to see if that specific setting is enabled, I could just again write the file name without the extension, and then the specific setting that I want to see, and hit enter, and it gives us the setting of what it's set to. All right, so that's going to bring us to the end of the video. So just a high level overview what we accomplished here. So we implemented security controls in order to harden our attack surface on this machine that we SSH into. So first we harden the our SSH protocol by changing some of this specific configuration files that's specific to SSH. And then we set some rules as far as IP tables, as far as traffic. We're going to go and let in and out. Since this appears to be a web server, we're going to allow traffic to come into port 2280 and 443, for whoever our customer is to be able to come in and see the contents of our website, and also for this website to be maintained remotely. And then we configured our fail to ban software, which is mainly installed on here to provoke, to prevent brute force attacks. And so we configured the settings there as far as which IPs to ignore, and in which and set some rules as far as how many failed attempts can a user or someone interacting with it have before it not only prevents you from trying to authenticate again, but permanently blocks you or bans you from the network. And then lastly, we harden our ICP IP stack, and we did so by enabling some settings within the system control config file. And as far as trying to prevent some common attacks such as SYN floods and IP spoofing, and being able to log in some packets um, called Martians, which are invalid, unroutable, or reserved for special use. So please like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, share your work. And until next time, take care of yourself and God bless.